Namaskar. Welcome to this session. We are considering the parinamas of three gunas: Sattva, Raja, and Tama. And for creation to be in place, we need to understand that the Rajoguna has a very vital role in metaphysics. For creation of any kind to come out of nominal phase of Prakriti, so sufficient allocation of the Rajoguna is always there in creation. It cannot be very bare minimum, minuscule Rajoguna. In that case, there will not be any manifestation. Because the activity phenomenon will not be there with Rajoguna kept at very low level. So this has to be understood that Rajoguna has a very important role to play in creation phase, manifest phase. The Sattva Rajatama, three gunas will always come in combinations. And that's why in the last session we saw that there are two kinds of parinamas in the Bhutendriya Parinama. In the Bhutendriya Parinama, the bhutas have Tamo Guna preponderance compared to Sattva Guna. And then Rajoguna has to be there for the manifestation to take place. So in Bhuta Parinama, there is Tama preponderance with Sattva. And Rajoguna plays a very vital role for manifestation. In Indriya Parinama, it is Sattva Raja Parinama major, and Tamo Guna is there because the three gunas have to coexist. And in the last session, we came to a point to say that there cannot be Raja minor manifestation. There can be Tama minor manifestation, which is Indriya Parinama for animate creation. Then Sattva minor Parinama for Bhuta Parinama. For elemental manifestation, it will be Sattva minor. So there is Tama minor and Sattva minor with regards to Bhutendriya Parinama. But there will not be Raja minor Bhutendriya Parinama. So this has to be understood with reference to Bhutendriya Parinamas as mentioned by Patanjali. That there can be Sattva minor Rajatama Parinama or Tama minor Sattva Raja Parinama. We cannot be inferring Raja minor Sattva Tama Parinama for Bhutendriya Parinama. So Rajoguna means Kriya Shakti. Prakasha Kriya Sthiti Shilam. The Kriya comes for Rajoguna. So the Kriya Shakti cannot be diminished and cannot be therefore in a titular way, nominal way. It has to be significantly there for manifestation. So then we understand that in deluge, in Pralaya Avastha, Rajoguna will be minor. So in creation phase, Rajoguna cannot be given paltry position. If the paltry position has to be given to Rajoguna, it will be pralayavastha, layavastha. So in deluge, like Brahma's night time, the Rajoguna will be diminishing to very great and great extent for his dissolution to come up. For the creation phase to end and the onset of dissolution phase, the Rajoguna will be shrinking at a rapid pace. And of course, in Pralayavastha, it is Guru Samyavastha. So when the dissolution has settled well, Sattva Raja Tamo Gunas will be in equilibrium. So, you cannot have in creation phase Sargavastha with Tamo Guna minor constitution. In creation phase, there will be Sattva minor or Tama minor, but not Raja minor, in the light of Bhutendriya Parinamas. So, this is where we concluded our last session. Incidentally, one more point is noteworthy. The metaphysics also mentions the three tiers of universe. What is called as Bhuloka, then Swarloka, and Patalaloka. That is terrestrial plane, celestial plane, and infernal plane. So the manifestation of creation will be different in celestial plane than the terrestrial plane. And in the netherly world, infernal world, it will be again the third kind of manifestation. And that is why in Puranas you get the mention of this often, that Swarga Loka means there is Sattva Guna manifestation exalted. In the Mrityu Loka, the terrestrial plane, Rajoguna manifestation is primary. And in the infernal plane, the lower worlds, netherly worlds, it is a Tamo Guna manifestation. So infernal creation is more of tamasic nature, terrestrial creation is more of rajasic nature, and celestial creation is more of sattvic nature. So this also is a point that we need to be noting in the light of metaphysics postulated by Puranas. And that's why Swarga means more Sattva Guna, Bhuloka means more of Rajoguna, and Patala Loka means greater amount of Tamo Guna. So this also needs to be taken note of. That means the creation in the heavens is more of sattvic matter. Of course, three gunas are existing. It is not exclusively sattva in Swarga, in heavens, but primarily sattva major manifestations. So sattvikata will be more in Swarga Loka or upper planes, Maha Loka, Tapo Loka, Jano Loka, Satya Loka. The Sattva Guna will be progressively increasing in all manifestations. While in our plane, terrestrial plane, the Rajoguna is having greater role and greater proportion. And in the Adholoka, lower planes, it is Tamo Guna. And that is why Adholoka manifestations are very tamasic, Bhuloka manifestations are very rajasic, and Swarloka manifestations are more sattvic. So this also we have to understand in the tiers of the cosmos. where we have terrestrial, celestial, infernal planes. The difference is caused by guna contributions. So sattva pradhana in upper planes, rajo pradhana in our planes, and tamo pradhana in lower planes. So that's also another thing to be taken note of. Now we are going to take up a question here. It is like this. From Mahat Tattva, that is Lingamatra. From Mahat Tattva comes Ahankar, and from Ahankar comes Sukshma Bhutas, tanmatra, and from Sukshma Bhutas, tanmatras, we get Sthula Bhuta. So question is whether Shabdadi Tanmatra give rise to Pruthivyadi, Akashadi Tattvas. Shabdadi Tanmatra, how is it? Is it that from Shabdadi Tanmatra there is rise of Akashadi mahabhutas? Or what exactly or actually is the process? So, metaphysics has something to tell us. It's not so gross that from once the Ahankar Tattva has come up, from Ahankar you will get Tanmatra, and from Tanmatra you will get Panchamahabhutas. It's not so plain. That will be very naive to be believing that way. So the question is whether from Shabdadi Tanmatra do we get Akashadi Bhutas, or how? Or what is the case? So the answer is like this. From Shabda Tanmatra, the Akasha comes up. From Shabda Tanmatra, Akasha Tattva comes up. Then Shabda Tanmatra Yukta Sparsha Tanmatra gives rise to Vayu. Shabda Tanmatra Yukta Sparsha Tanmatra. That means Sparsha Tanmatra association with Shabda Tanmatra give rise to second element called Vayu. And then Shabda Sparsha Yukta Tanmatra getting association with Rupa Tanmatra gives rise to Teja Tattva, Agni Tattva. And Shabda Sparsha Rupa Tanmatra together associated with Rasa Tanmatra give rise to Ap Tattva. And Shabda Sparsha Rupa Rasa Tanmatra Yukta getting associated with Gandha Tanmatra give rise to Prithvi Tattva. So it is not as might be inferred simply, naively. From Shabda Tanmatra you get Akasha, from Sparsha Tanmatra you get Vayu, from Teja Tanmatra you get Agni, and from Rasa Tanmatra you get Ap Tattva, and from Gandha Tanmatra you get Prithvi Tattva. That is not how the parampara is, or the lineage is. Otherwise, it will be generally thought that Tanmatra give rise to Prithvi, the Tattvas. Therefore, Shabda Tanmatra give rise to Akash, Vayu Tanmatra give rise to Vayu, Rupa Tanmatra give rise to Tej, Rasa Tanmatra give rise to Ap Tattva, and Gandha Tanmatra give rise to Prithvi Tattva. But this is not right. So just now I explained you, as the metaphysics tells us, from Shabda Tanmatra comes Akasha, Shabda plus Sparsha give rise to Prithvi. Then Shabda plus Sparsha plus Rupa Tanmatra gives rise to Tej. Then Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa together with Rasa Tanmatra give rise to Ap Tattva. And then Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Tanmatra together with Gandha Tanmatra gives rise to Prithvi. So, this gives us an understanding that these bhutas, Panchamahabhutas, have progressively increasing gunas. Akasha means only Shabda, Vayu means Shabda and Sparsha, Agni means Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Ap Tattva means Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, and Prithvi Tattva means Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. So there is progression in the qualities of these elements. So Akasha Tattva has one quality, Vayu Tattva has two qualities, Tej Tattva has three qualities, Ap Tattva has four qualities, and Prithvi Tattva has five qualities. It is because the tanmatra getting added. And therefore metaphysics says that the gunas in five elements are progressive. Akasha has only Shabda, Vayu has Shabda and Sparsha, Tej has Shabda, Sparsha and Rupa, and then Ap Tattva has Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa and Rasa, and Prithvi Tattva has Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa and Gandha. Now this is expressed in Vyasa's commentary. Vyasa makes it very explicit. So we understand that how the mahabhutas are also not of one grade as naively thought by those who are not well versed with metaphysics. So we try to equate five mahabhutas with each other. We say mahabhutas are one category, Akash, Vayu, Tej, Up and Prithvi. We think they are to be equated. No, they are not to be equated. So far as the qualities are concerned, there is a progression. Akasha has one quality, Vayu has two qualities, Tej has three qualities, and then Up has four qualities, and Prithvi has five qualities. So that is another point to be noted. Now, we proceed to next point of view, that from alinga comes linga matra, from linga matra comes ahankara. And now from ahankara, you have on one side bhuta parinama and the other side Indriya Parinama. Bhuta Parinama for so-called inert and Indriya Parinama for so-called animate. Now I said so-called inert and so-called animate. So before we proceed on to this, it entails a clarification. Now this clarification that the Srishti is Jada Chetanatmaka. The Srishti or creation is sentient in sentient. This is how we generally make a classification, Jada Chetana and sentient in sentient. But I want you to take note of a fact that in the original Sankhya, because later Sankhya got branched into Seshwar Sankhya, Dirishwar Sankhya. Originally there was only one Sankhya which you get in Upanishads. And because later, historically, maybe because of Shad Darshanas, the mutual conflicts in Shad Darshanas, they identified something as Nirishwara Sankhya. And unfortunately today the Sankhya Darshanam is spearheaded by Sankhya Karika of Ishvara Krishna. And Kapila Sankhya the Kapila Sutras of Sankhya have almost gone into oblivion, so much so that some of the Vedantins argue that the Kapila Sankhya Darshanam or Kapila Sankhya Sutram are unavailable today. They are extinct. Because it is convenient for polemics of Vedanta to encounter Sankhya Karika of Ishvara Krishna, where you get the shade of Nirishwara Sankhya, non-theistic Sankhya, because nowhere the God comes in the Sankhya that you get in Sankhya Karika of Ishvara Krishna. And therefore, the Vedantins are not accepting any text as Kapila Sankhya Sutra. They say it is extinct. However, Kapila Sankhya has come in Shvetashvatara Upanishad. The very name of Kapila has come there. Kapila Sankhya can be also traced in Vishnu Puranam. Kapila Sankhya is also accepted by the Vaishnava Vedantins, and they totally repudiate Nirishwar Sankhya of Sankhya Karika of Ishvara Krishna. They attack it right, left, center and defeat the Sankhya of Ishvara Krishna, and therefore deem that the Sankhya is also refuted, because they believe that Ishvara Krishna Sankhya is only Sankhya. So Vedantins in that polemic warfares have given an impression that there is nothing like Seshwara Sankhya as far as Shat Darshanas are concerned. In Shat Darshanas, they only count Nirishwara Sankhya, the atheistic Sankhya of Ishvara Krishna. And his text is the classical text for the Vedantins, for Naiyayikas, because they want to repudiate and disprove, debunk the theories given by Sankhya. So one of the commentators has said that Badrayana Vedanta is not refuting Sankhya as much as Shankara Vedanta, Ramanuja Vedanta, Madhva Vedanta, Nimbarka Vedanta, Bhaskara Vedanta, Shrikar Vedanta, and various Vedantas, Shakta Vedanta, Shaiva Vedanta, Baldev Vedanta. So there are so many schools of Vedanta. Shankara, Ramanuja, Nimbarka, Bhaskara, Ramanuja, Madhva, Vallabha, then Baldeva, Shrikara, Shrikantha. So there are so many commentaries on Brahma Sutras. So one of the mystic philosophers has said that Badrayana Vedanta is not as much against a Sankhya as much as you will find the opponents in Shankara Vedanta, Ramanuja Vedanta, Madhva Vedanta, Vallabha Vedanta, Baldev Vedanta, Shrikara Vedanta, Shrikantha Vedanta. Basically, they do not accept the text of Kapila Sankhya Sutra as existent. They say it is totally extinct, and what is available is only Sankhya Karika of Ishvara Krishna, and that is soul and soul Nirishwara Sankhya. But when it comes to mention of Sankhya, even in Bhagavad Gita, Ekam Sankhyam cha Yogam cha Yapashyati Sapashyati. So Bhagavad Gita also speaks about Sankhya Nishtha and Yoga Nishtha. So Sankyam has come in Bhagavad Gita, and So also in Sri Vishnu Puranam, Bhagavata Puranam, Shvetashatar Upanishad, you get the mention of Maya and Prakriti in Shvetashatar Upanishad also. Maya, Brahma, Prakriti, these terms come even in Upanishads. Mahabharata, you get wonderful account of Sankhya of 24 principles, Sankhya of 25 principles, Sankhya of 26 principles, Sankhya of 28 principles, so on and so forth. And Seshwar Sankhya, Nirishwar Sankhya do get place in Srimad Mahabharatam. Anyway, the point is, in Sankhya you get Moola Prakriti giving rise to Mahat Tattva. That Mahat Tattva in Bhagavad Gita is called Mahat Brahma. And from that Mahat Tattva, there is rise of Ahankara of Sankhya. Ahankara is not referred to our ego that we have in our psyche and consciousness, but this is the cosmic principle of Ahankara. And from Ahankara, we get Bhutendriya Srushti. And to the point that I wanted to take up at this juncture was, we have therefore a functional classification which holds something as sentient, something as insentient, something as jada and something else as chetana. Jada chetanatmak srushti, jada jada srushti, these are the terms you get in philosophy. Jada ajada, jada chetana, living non-living, bhutendriyatmaka, and sentient insentient. So this is a functional classification. As a matter of fact, you cannot be deeming anything, branding anything, labeling anything as jada. Why is this? Because the Brahman is all pervasive. Now, is it to be taken that all that is so-called inert, that there is no Brahma Tattva there? Is it other than Brahma? Is it non-Brahma manifestation? No, because Brahma is Sarvantaryami. Purusha Vishesha of Patanjali is also Sarvantaryami. Jada Chetana Antaryami, which you get in Antaryami Brahmana Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Ya Pruthivyam Tishtan, Ya Apsu Tishtan. So all the 5 elements are taken, all the manifestations are taken, and everywhere there is reference to Antaryami, Amruta Purushaha. In Bhagavad Gita, you get the concept of Adhiyagnya. So Bhagavan says, I am Adhiyagnya in all manifestations, means I am the indweller in all manifestations. That is why he is also called Vasudeva in Pancharatra. Vasudeva, that means he does the Vasanam. He recites Vasati, Vasanam, Vasati in all creation. He is indweller in all atomic particles, subatomic particles. He is indweller everywhere. He is indweller, he is informer, he is internal ruler, he is internal governor. He is not merely accidentally happening to be present everywhere, but he is antaryami, antarniyamaka. He is internal ruler and not just happens to be residing. Like space is all pervasive, therefore space happens to be everywhere. Nothing in this creation is bereft of space. The space is permeating anything, outside in, inside out. But Akasha is not Antaryami. Because of its metaphysical character, that it is all pervasive, It happens to be everywhere, anywhere, inside anything, outside anything, around anything. But that's just a metaphysical reality that Akasha is all pervasive and therefore nothing is without space. Everything is internally subsumed by Akasha Tattva, as much as permeated and around it is all Akasha. Inside also everything there is Akasha, but Akasha is not said to be Antaryami, Antarniyamaka. It is only He, the Brahma Tattva, is referred to as Antaryami Amrita Purushaha, Antaryami Atma. That wonderfully comes in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Antaryami Brahmanam. So the point is, the divinity, the Almighty, the Brahman, the Ishvara cannot be labeled as inert, non-living. It is absurd to say that Ishvara is non-living entity. It is ridiculous to hold that Ishvara is non-living entity. Now, if the living entity, like Ishvara, like Brahman, is all pervasive, it really metaphysically unsound to classify something as inert and classify something as living, or classify something as non-living and something else as living. So that is Jada Chetana classification is functional for some purpose. Like we will classify the lives, human life, and then subhuman lives. We have so many classes, aquatics, reptiles, mammals, etc., etc. It's a classic classification for functional purpose. To study biology, you will have to have classification. To have study of psychology, you will have to have classification. That some people are good people, some people are bad people, some people are virtuous, some people are vicious, etc. These are all functional classifications. So biology will have, psychology will have the classification. But insofar as this classification is concerned, sentient and insentient doesn't stand sound postulation, because Ishvara, Brahma, is internally immanently present in all manifestations. And not only immanently present, but a transcendent principle as a governor. Antaryami, Antarniyamaka, Antapravishta Shasta. Upanishad say, Antapravishta Shasta Jananam Sarvatma. He enters all beings, and then not only enters the being, but Antapravishta Shasta, ruler, internal ruler. That's why Antaryami, Antarniyamaka. Antarniyamaka is Antaryami. So, the whole creation is permeated by Ishvara Tattva, Vasudeva Tattva. Ishavasyam idam sarvam. Yatkincha jagatyam jagat. Vasudevam sarvamiti. Sarvam khalvidam Brahma. So the Brahma is all pervasive. Vasudeva is all pervasive. Isha is all pervasive. It is inside everything and around everything. Inside everything and outside of everything, it is Ishvara. So, on one hand, as an absolute reality, you cannot have this classification that something is sentient, something is insentient. If at all that classification is there, it is also acceptable because of some classification, functional purpose. There is a functional purpose, therefore we classify. Anyway, the point is, there is nothing like Jada Chetana Srushti, because Ishvara is Sarvantaryami. He is Purusha Vishesha. The Purusha Vishesha Ishvara is not only in us. The Purusha Vishesha Ishvara is also in all that we label as inert, non-living, material, elemental, but he is permeating everything and is also governing everything from within. So that is another point to be noted. Although here bhutatmaka srushti, indriyatmaka srushti seems to give us feeling that there is something mention of living and non-living. Bhautika srushti is non-living, aindriyaka srushti is living, because no living body will be bereft of senses. There will be some senses, internal, external senses. And that's the signature condition of life. The life always has some senses, external and internal. So, this is also a point to be noted about the classification. So, from Tamo Ahankara comes Bhutendriyatmaka Srushti. From Tamo Ahankara comes Bhautika Srushti and Indriyatmaka Srushti. From Tamo Ahankara comes the so-called non-living and so-called living. And again I say this classification is only functional. So from bhuta, the bhuta, the bhutadi ahankara called ahankara tattvam, generating mahabhutas is called tamo ahankara. So it's a rajatama ahankara gives rise to sukshma bhutas and then sthula bhutas, as just now we considered little while ago. So the ahankara seems to be divided into two forms for bhautika srushti and indriyatmaka srushti. Because we can characterize the bhautika srushti, elemental creation, material creation of one kind, and the indriyatmaka srushti or living creation of the another kind. So the ahankara tattvam in cosmology gives rise to both. So we have to have some deductions drawn here. Listen to these important deductions. All gross elements, sthula bhuta, pruthivyadi panchamahabhutas, are tanmatra janya, and tanmatra is ahankara janya. So all the tanmatras are tamo pradhana, tamo major, tamas major, ahankara parinama. Gandha tanmatra will be having shabda, sparsha, rupa, rasa, tanmatrakata. The Gandha tanmatra of Prithvi will be grosser because it is born out of Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Tanmatra. The Rasa Tanmatra is born of Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Tanmatra. The Rupa Tanmatra is born of Shabda, Sparsha, Tanmatra. And Shabda Tanmatra is Moola Bhuta Tanmatra. So that we saw that Akasha is subtlest and it is generated by Shabda Tanmatra only. Vayu Tanmatra has touch of Shabda Tanmatra. Rupa Tanmatra has touch of Shabda and Sparsha Tanmatra. Rasa Tanmatra has touch of Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa Tanmatra. And Gandha Tanmatra has touch of Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa Tanmatra. Which, as I said, is clear in Vyasa's comment. Then another point to be noted, except Gandha Tanmatra, listen carefully, the last of the tanmatra of the Prithvi Tattva. Except Gandha tanmatra, all the tanmatras have two functions. What are these two functions? The first function, it is to generate its kind of mahabhuta. That is one function. The second function is to transmit its quality to subsequent bhuta. And there is order in the mahabhutas: Akash, Vayu, Tej, Ap, Prithvi. This is the order of mahabhutas insofar as generation is concerned. As I told you that there are 5 generations and not 5 bhutas. There are 5 generations of bhutas. So, the Shabda Tanmatra only manifests the Akasha Tattva. That is one function. The second is also cast a seed for Vayu Tattva. So it will have two functions. One is to generate Akasha Mahabhuta. Second one is also cast a seed into Vayu Tanmatra for Vayu Tattva. So also generate next generation of Tanmatra. So Shabda Tanmatra also generates Sparsha Tanmatra. So it has two functions. One is to turn out Akasha Tattvam, and the other one is to turn out next Tanmatra. So then you can deduce that Vayu also will do the same thing. Vayu Tanmatra, Sparsha Tanmatra will generate Vayu Tattva and give rise to next Tanmatra, Rupa Tanmatra. And that's how they get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gunas or qualities. So the two functions are, the first is to turn out of its own power the sthula bhuta of its kind. Like Shabda Tanmatra corresponds to Akasha Tattva, Sparsha Tanmatra corresponds to Vayu Tattva, Teja Tanmatra for Teja Agni Tattva, and then Rasa Tanmatra for Ap Tattva, and Gandha Tanmatra for Prithvi Tattva. So those Tanmatras will turn out their generation of Sthula Bhuta. They being Sukshma Bhuta, Tanmatra being Sukshma Bhuta, the first function is to turn out the Bhuta of their nature. And second one is to cast a seed for subsequent Bhuta. So it becomes incidental for next Bhuta or next Tanmatra to be generated. So Shabda Tanmatra is the subtlest Tanmatra. Sparsha is little lesser subtler than that. The Gandha Tanmatra is further lesser in subtlety, and then Rasa Tanmatra is further lesser in subtlety, and Gandha Tanmatra is further lesser in subtlety. So two functions is to turn out the mahabhuta of its generation, to turn out gross element of its generation, and also assist the next Tanmatra to turn out the next mahabhuta. But if you come to the last Tanmatra, Gandha Tanmatra, it doesn't have that, because there is no tattva after Prithvi. There is no grosser tattva than Prithvi. Prithvi is the last of the mahabhutas. While Vayu had to generate sparsha, Vayu had to generate and account for next mahabhuta, then Tej had to also be responsible for next mahabhuta, and then Up to be responsible for next mahabhuta. The Prithvi doesn't have that. There is no next mahabhuta. And that is why the Gandha tanmatra only turns out Prithvi. There is no sixth tanmatra. There is no subsequent tanmatra for Gandha tanmatra to turn out, because there are only 5 elements and 5 tanmatra. The point is, there are 2 functions as explained just now. But Gandha tanmatra has only one function, is to turn out Prithvi, and there is nothing grosser metaphysical principle or element. And then all sthula sukshma bhautik srushti, entire sthula sukshma, gross and subtle elemental creation is shabdatmaka. The shabda is parental. If you recall, I said the Prithvi's parent is up, up's parent is Tej. Then parent of Tej is Vayu, and parent of Vayu is Akasha. Akashad Vayor, Vayor Agne, Agne Adbhyam Prithvim. What the Taittiriya Upanishad tells us. Then you will see that Akasha Tattva and Shabda Tanmatra is inherently there, because that is the first generation. So it gets transmitted into second generation, Vayu, gets transmitted into third generation, Tej, fourth generation, Up, and fifth generation, Prithvi. So the Shabda Tanmatra is in all elements without exception. Because if the Prithvi has parentage in Up, then Prithvi's grandparent is Tej, great grandparent is Vayu, great grandparent is Akash. So that's how you can understand the 5 generations. Now, since Shabda Tanmatra is permeating, subsuming, occupying, centrally being there in entire creation, there is a wonderful couplet which comes in Smritis. You know, Shabda also has a synonym in Nad. So the Smriti says, Nadarupo smruto brahma, Nadarupo janardanaha, Nadarupa parashakti, Tasmat nadatmakam jagat. The whole creation is of the nature of Nad. The whole creation is of the nature of Shabda and Nad. Precisely Nad. And that is why that wonderful couplet which we get in Smritis. Nadarupa smruto Brahma. Brahma is Nadarupa. Vishnu is Nadarupa. Shiva is Nadarupa. And everything, Parashakti is Nadarupa, and all that comes from them is therefore Nadarupa, of the nature of Nada. So that's how the Akasha principle is hailed. Now, we need to understand the constitution of the tanmatra, as to how tanmatra are constituted. So we are going to take up this aspect in our next session. Like if we say that these are all something like atoms, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, which are constituting the whole creation. If you look at them as Anu, how are they constituted? Because the Shabda is the subtlest of infra-atomic element, and the Gandha is the grossest of infra atomic structure of element. So let's try to conceive something as to how the 5 tanmatras are constituted. But we'll take this up in the next session, because the metaphysical matter is really very dry and very terse. I do not want to overload you. And that's why I am taking just one point for a session. So in the next session, we will consider the constitution of Shabda Tanmatra, the metaphysics as to how these Tanmatra are constituted. But that is for next time. So enough for time being. Namaskar all of you.